The statement of facts that I'm going to share with you today shows that they never wanted to solve the Tupac Shakur murder case. And the information that they had at that time, if they wanted to, they could have proceeded with it. But they were basically happy that Tupac was dead. Let's get into some of this straight game.
Life is like cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Play each situation correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. It's your boy DELRAY, Richardson, platinum artist, platinum songwriter, Straight Game TV. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, notification. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please do so. Very much appreciate it. And like I always say, if you want to be one of the first people notified when I drop some of this straight game, please do me a favor and click on what appears to be that little bell notification right below this video. I'm going to get right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, the situation involving Keffe D in Las Vegas had really nothing to do with Tupac's murder. And how I understand, and I know this for a fact, excuse me, is the fact that if they wanted to charge Keffe D, they've already had all the evidence for the last 27 years. What this situation was about Keffe D being quiet. As I said before, Keffe D has been on various platforms, and his notion or explanation for cooperating with the government has been that he was trying to save his people, meaning prevent some people from going to jail that was involved with his drug conspiracy case, right? And this is the recent justification that he's been given. But I want to point you back, not to something that I said or something that I feel or think, right? I want to point you back to a statement that he made to Greg Kading during the proffer agreement. So, mind you, recent statements, I was trying to free some people. That's the reason why I cooperated. And we understand from all of the things, or I understand, should I say, from all of the things involving any kind of criminal activity, if you consider yourself a gangster, that cooperation with the government is a no-no under any circumstances, right? Because you signed up for it, you did what you did, and you should be man enough to accept the consequences behind what you did. But evidently, at this go-round, Keffe D didn't want to do that, and he felt like he wanted to cooperate with the government, right? Based on he wanted to save his people. But listen to what he told Greg Kading during the proffer agreement as to the reason why he didn't stay strong. Detective Kading, since you've been out of prison, have you talked to Zip? Keffe D, not one time. Detective Kading, what about Puffy? Keffe D, not one time. I tried to call them several times, though. If he would have just given us half the money, I would have stayed strong. Now, we know that he didn't just offer up this information in regards to the Tupac situation just to offer it up because Puffy didn't pay him the alleged money that Keffe D felt like he was owed for what Keffe D said was Puffy's involvement in the Tupac situation and basically putting $1 million bounty on Tupac and Suge's life. He said basically, if you look right here, he said that Puffy wanted something to happen to Tupac, well, Suge first, but then when Tupac wrote Hit 'Em Up, then he added Tupac to the mix. And Keffe D said the price was $1 million. So he's saying basically if, you know, Puffy would have gave us just half the money, he would have stayed strong. Well, that wouldn't be true according to what Keefe D's saying in these current interviews, correct? He's saying that the reason why he decided to cooperate because he was trying to save his people. You can see the inconsistency in those stories, right? And so I'm only dealing with the actual facts of the matter, the statement of facts of the matter. And here you can see where he says that Puffy basically entered 2Pac into the the equation right here. This is Detective Dupree. Detective Dupree says, when Combs asked about Shakur and Knight, would he always say both of them? Keefe D. He added the boy Shakur on after he made a record. Detective Dupree. Before it was just Suge, and then after Hit 'Em Up came out. Keefe D. Yeah. That pissed Combs off. Right? So now, once again, this is Keefe D implicating Sean Puffy Combs as the guy who was the person behind the situation that orchestrated the events that happened in Las Vegas that night. Right? So when most people ask the question, they say, well, it looked like a setup. Basically saying that when Orlando was standing there by himself, right? It was part of the setup to get the ball rolling as to be a provocateur and to see what they were going to do. And if they were going to do anything, right, then that would be the time to be able to, set into events. If somebody made a move, they was going to handle their business that night, period. Bottom line, right? And so now, after the situation happens, right, Keefe D also said that he got a call from Faith Evans and Puffy's camp, basically asking him, was that y'all involved with the situation that happened to 2Pac?
So tell me about that. How that came about and what was said. Because Puffy called too, right?
Yeah, him and Biggie's wife. What's her name?
Faith Evans?
Yeah.
So tell me about that. Them two calls and everything.
He just asked, was that us?
Who said that?
Puffy did. I'm like, yeah. Yeah, Zip told him that.
What about Faith? What did she say when she called?
That's who they was mostly communicating with. That's who Bond was, Zip was communicating with.
Oh, okay.
Faith, yeah.
Right? So the notion that he only cooperated based on wanting to save his people at this particular time and what he's been giving out is something new, far-fetched, and the newest excuse as to why he cooperated with the government. I'm only giving you facts, man, based on and this is all on tape recording. You understand what I'm saying? But when you sit back and you actually put this together, you can see how it just doesn't add up. The statements, the everything. And so, and then when you talk about, the initial situation involving that, right? This is the part that really gets me, is that when it all transpired, they supposed to have met at this restaurant in Hollywood. Check it out. Listen to this. Detective Kading, tell us what happened that made it something other than just him frustrated and boasting. Man, I'll give you guys anything. What made it specific? Like, hey, I'm serious. I want you guys to kill these guys. Keefe D, when he told me at Greenblatt's, Detective Kading, how'd that go? Like, what was the conversation? Now, the federal agent is there, and he interjects, and he says, and who's he? Keefe D, Puff, implicating Puffy in the murder of 2Pac Shakur, right? Detective Kading, how's the conversation go? we really need specific details regarding that. Keefe D, we wanted $1 million. Detective Kading, all right, so you meet him at Greenblatt's for lunch or dinner or what? Keefe D, this was dinner in the evening. Detective Kading, who else was there? Keefe D, all of us, Corey, everybody, all of our crew. Detective Kading, everybody's hearing this conversation between you and Puff? Keefe D, he was talking to me. When we get there, we was laughing at him because he was with this broad that sucked dick and sucked everybody dick in there. And he still all held up kissing with her. We was laughing like a motherfucker. He's like, man, what y'all laughing at, dog? Man, don't just come out here and get any broad, dog. He took me downstairs and he's like, man, I want to get rid of them dudes, man. I was like, we'll wipe their ass out quick, man. It's nothing. So, if they wanted to solve or arrest somebody in the murder of 2Pac Shakur, they had a statement from a first-hand witness whom they gave a proffer agreement in agreement with the government to know what happened. With that being said, nobody was arrested. Nobody was charged for that situation even then. So what that tells me is that they never really wanted to charge anybody for the murder of 2Pac Shakur. I'm not saying that they should or they shouldn't. These are the words in the confession of Keefe D to the federal government and to the Los Angeles Police Department at that particular time. And as of recent, Keefe D has been coming out and trying to say that the reason why he snitched and he cooperated with the government was based on he was trying to save his people. And we understand from this statement right here, which was made prior to all of those recent statements, that that's simply not true. He basically said, once again, I'm going to go back to it. Keefe D, not one time. I tried to call them several times, though. If he would have just given us half the money, I would have stayed strong. But not only was Keefe D a cooperating witness in the situation involving the proffer agreement, the feds, and the Los Angeles Police Department, but Keefe D also wore a wire going back to New York, trying to go at Von Zip, trying to get him on record as to what the situation was involving the money and the alleged, Puffy saying that he wanted both Tupac and Suge, them guys gone and all of that. But Von Zip, at that particular time, wasn't available. If you ask me, I think that he was probably on to the situation at that particular time, right? And Keefe D was unsuccessful in trying to catch Von Zip on a wire tap because he was wired for sound and trying to capture some information in regards to the situation in regard to the situation in the conversation that he said he had with Puffy at Greenblatt's and trying to get the $1 million or the money that they were owed. Right? So now, with all of this evidence, right, Keefe D's credibility, and when you go back to his book, right, and you go to the statement, once again, the statement that he gave them in the proffer agreement. See, this right here came before the book and all of that, right? So when you understand that this came before the book, you understand what I'm talking about. And so when they talking about, the situation involving Vegas and then, them going down the street and, in Keefe D's book, he makes the statement right here, and he basically says that he ducks and he does all of these things. This is in the book. But when he made the initial proffer agreement, this is what he said. Listen, Keefe D, we came up Harmon, got to Las Vegas Boulevard and shit. here he come in that BMW, bras like Tupac, and we like, there they go, made a U-turn. We wasn't supposed to make a U-turn, and they was in the middle lane, and we just pulled up on the side and checked every car to see where they were, right? Detective Kading. So Lane start blasting and Suge looks over and sees you. Yeah. Detective Kading. He looks right at you. Keefy D. Yeah. He looked at me. We've known each other since we were 7 or 8 years old. Detective Kading. He looks over at you and then Tupac's busy getting shot. Story is Tupac's either trying to get out of the way. Keefy D. He's in the back seat or something. Detective Kading. What do you see happening? I see the bullets going to Suge's head. I thought he was dead. It must have scraped him or something in the head or something. I thought he was dead. Now, at no time do you hear him say that Tupac was reaching for a gun. Tupac was none of that. Did he duck, got out of the way? He said, and you heard it now, he said, so Lane starts blasting and Suge looks over and sees you. He said, yeah. So he said they pull up and Baby Lane start blasting. That's different from what he said in his book. He's saying Tupac tried to reach for a gun, the gun which would have had to have been in some secret compartment from what people have been saying. And so he wouldn't even have time to, in the code and all of that. How could he be reaching for a gun? We know that's not true. But he already confessed that what the intentions were prior to even pulling up on Tupac and Suge in the car. But in the book, it's like, I ducked. Tupac looked like he was trying to reach for something. And so now I understand what the police mean by keep your hands where I can see them. What? Well, now he cooperated with law enforcement. People would say different. But Keefy D was not the police. He was not under the color of authority enough to try to say, to impute the statement. I understand what law enforcement mean why they say, let me see your hands at all times. Had nothing to do with that. What Keefy D was basically trying to do was to create some kind of self-defense excuse in regards for firing on the car with Tupac in the car. It's that simple. It's very clear now because, like I said, during this time right here, he said that he basically snitched on his nephew, Orlando Anderson, right? Made it into an excuse about him trying to free some people, right? When he said in the statement involving Greg Kading that the reason why he snitched was because Puffy didn't give him the money or even half of the money that he promised him for carrying out the situation involving Suge and Tupac in Las Vegas. This is not my words, y'all. These are Keefy D's words. So we go back to the recent raid in Las Vegas. That wasn't about Tupac. They want Keefy D to be quiet. Like I said, Keefy D was talking about Boosie being a snitch and so on and so forth. Lil Boosie has not cooperated with any government agency involved in his gun case. He went to jail, he paid his bail, and now he's out, right? And so in saying that, like I said, I'll say it again, Keefy D is now biting the hand in the federal government and the United States attorney that basically fed him his deal and his proffer agreement involving the situation with Tupac Shakur. And he's speaking against the program, the government cooperation program that ultimately helped him and freed him from his situation, and now he's speaking down about that. The government doesn't like that. It makes them hard to find people who are going to cooperate. It also makes it hard for them to prosecute cases. And you know, the cognitive dissonance that's involved with a lot of this is, you know, I'm a gangster. And the reason why I snitched was because of this. And y'all should understand that. No, that's not how that has ever gone. Under any circumstances, you did the crime, you do the time. Period. And so that didn't happen. And so we are now here with the Las Vegas Police Department raiding Keefe D's home in Las Vegas. And if you notice, they didn't come aggressively. They didn't come with a no-knock warrant. They came and they basically got everybody to come out the house with the bullhorn, as you've seen in that video. So you can tell that that was something that wasn't really what that was, and understanding what that is, you know, that had nothing to do with the murder of 2Pac Shakur. Because like I said, if that had something to do with 2Pac Shakur's murder, then they would have came and made an arrest. Simple. It wouldn't have been all of that, come outside with your hands up and so on and so forth and this, that, and the other. You know, and so this is the thing that I kind of look at more than anything. I'm looking at the statement of facts. I'm not looking at, you know, hearsay and everybody saying what they believe and, you know, so on and so forth and what they hope to happen. These are the things that Keefe D told the federal government and the Los Angeles Police Department in getting his deal, in which he said, like I said, once again, he was saving his people. And we understand from this the first initial statement in which this is that that's not true. He said that Puffy didn't give him the money, and he would have stayed strong if Puffy would have paid him. And so therefore, he snitched. Your boy DELRAY, straight gang.